how simple it is.
I just want to make double sure on that 20 million TIF figure, that's the guesstimate.
Yeah, but we're not, yeah, I don't think we're ready to put a number.
I'm just saying, when you're saying, are you for it? I'm for a TIF settlement percentage, but I'm not in no way, shape, or form ready for $10 million TIF, is what I'm saying.
Well, he's using the word 50%.
Can I make a comment? I think the city has been unfairly characterized in terms of its investment in riverwalk. The taxpayers have been most patient, and they've spent a huge amount of money. We invested in a ton of property, and we paid, in some people's opinions, far too much. And so we did make major investments in property. We've been maintaining the property. What bothers me most is the TIF never came through. So what we've been doing is using the general fund to pay it, because that's my other concern. I want the taxpayers first. Any monies that come in from tax increment must pay off debt to make the city residents whole. The other thing is, Riverwalk is moving forward. I think this council has taken a brave stand, and it's going to move a Riverwalk forward with or without participation, and we're going to find a way to do it. We have now authorized the beginning of the first section, which is the north end. The park is going through, and we're going to continue. So I want everyone to be assured that this council has taken strong steps forward. We're no longer lingering. We're going to get that Riverwalk in one way or the other. Now, is giving $10 million in TIF a reasonable way to move it forward? First of all, I have some concerns with it, because I want the money to go to pay off our debt first, and it appears it needs it. We've also, by putting in the park and all the other improvements, which are approximately $5 million estimated, we have already dressed up that property. Boy, I would like someone come to my land, or if I had a nice big piece of property along the river, to have them put the amenities around it. We have basically put the piece of property there as a jewel. I also want to make sure, as we discuss this, that it's a multifaceted discussion, because I'm not sure who's going to pay for the improvements they're around it. We're talking about $500,000 at this point, and if any of you ever participated in infrastructure things, the first estimate is apparently always wrong. So I want to make it very clear that the taxpayer is protected in that regard. So the other thing on the land swamp, I would like tonight for the appraisal, for this board to vote to release the appraisal, since we're considering, and I think the taxpayers as well as each of us have a right to know what the appraisals are on the property we're agreeing to swamp.
I thought we did that. Did we release it?
We released two of the appraisals, but because the funeral home is owned by the CRA, the feeling was that the CRA board had to vote.
Oh, okay.
So that's what we're doing.
Okay.
So,
But at that point, we have also, if we do the swamp, we have also, the taxpayer is basically, from what I could see from the estimates I saw, we're about 200,000 short on the city side for that swap. And I'm not saying, but I'm just saying, the big question you have to ask, how much do we have to incentivize a project to work, and how much of that incentive is coming directly out of the taxpayers' pockets? And I think those are important considerations. So we need to, one, look at it as a whole package. How much is the whole thing going to cost us? And then something that I have gotten a number of calls on is people are not enthusiastic about high-rises. And I want to say I share. I really don't want to turn the Halifax River into a canyon, but I agree the property is. And by the way, on the property, the city has also helped, or is going to have to help. If you remember, we agreed to move the zoning, the density of properties from the point, and turned the point into a conservation area, and we transferred those rights inland to where the condos are going to provide for greater density, and that was kind of a swap off a number of years ago. Now, we're going to be asked to forget that, leave the density high on the backdrop, and now allow commercial buildings on the point. So that's another, we could call it incentive by the city. This city has been awfully good. And my final comment is one that returns us to something that we said a couple of weeks ago. I really want equity, and that is we need a clue. Before we make this decision, we've got to decide, are we going to do TIF on a case-by-case basis, or are we going to develop rules? And I urge you to develop rules, because when you do it on a case-by-case basis, politics intrudes, personality intrudes. There ought to be rules. When you're going to be giving away tons of taxpayer money, and we're talking about a lot of money over time, we need very much to ensure that we're doing it in a fair and equitable manner. So Jack Wiles, who's developing right now, has a right, depending upon the rules, to apply as much as anyone else, and anyone within the CRA has the same opportunities, or any future people. But we need to make clear what those rules are. We just can't, and I urge you not to be going one by one and saying, well, I like this guy, but I don't like that guy. And because you can get yourself into a lot of legal troubles that way. That's what
You go back to, number one, how are you ever going to give your money back? You can build a park,